what this trade issue is about is not complicated. You don't have to have a PhD in economics to understand it. And what it's about is corporate America writing trade agreements which say, why do I have to pay workers in Minnesota or Vermont a good wage, with good benefits, protect the environment, deal with unions, when I can shut down plants in the United States and move to low-wage countries, not worry about unions or the environment, and then I bring my products back into this country. That's all that is. And here's what's happened. Since 2001, we have lost almost 60,000 factories in this country and millions of decent-paying jobs. People who once worked in a factory made middle-class wage and good benefits are now flipping hamburgers at McDonald's. Now, I voted and helped lead the opposition against all of these trade agreements. I am helping to lead the opposition against the TPP. Secretary Clinton supported NAFTA, supported permanent normal trade relations with China. Now, when we talk about what's going on in this country and why there is so much angst and frustration, it has everything to do with the fact that in Minnesota, Vermont, all over this country, we got millions of people who are working not one job, they're working two jobs, they're working three jobs. And despite an explosion of technology and an increase in worker productivity, their wages are going down. So you got mom working, you got dad working, you got the kids working, you got marriages that are being stressed because people don't have time to spend together, kids not getting the attention they deserve. We have people, our country, people in America working the longest hours of any people in the industrialized world. Do you all know that? Japanese are very hard workers. We work longer hours than do the Japanese. And at the end of all of that, 58% of all new income goes to the top 1%. And then you got, that's income. And then in terms of wealth, you got the top 1/10 of 1% today owning almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. You got the 20 wealthiest people in this country owning more wealth than the bottom 150 million, half of America. This is a rigged economy. You lose. So together, you ready for a radical idea? Together we are going to create an economy that works for working families, not just the 1%. When we talk about the economy, please understand that every month you see on the front pages of the paper statistics about unemployment. Official unemployment nationally is 5%. Anyone believe that? You're right. It's really, if you look at people who have given up looking for work and are working part-time, real unemployment is close to 10%. And here is something else that we do not talk about at all. The media has nothing to say about it. And that is youth unemployment in this country. Kids who graduated high school between 17 and 20. If those kids are white, 33% are unemployed or underemployed. Latino, 36%. African American, 51%. Anyone here thinks there is not a direct correlation between that outrageously high rate of youth unemployment and the fact that we have more people in jail than any other country, you would be missing an important point. So here's radical idea number 2. We are going to invest for our young people in jobs and education, not jails and incarceration. Is almost 10%, and when we have an infrastructure which is collapsing in many parts of this country. I was in Flint, Michigan the other day, and let me just tell you, because I don't even want to talk about it, it's so horrific. It was hard for me to believe that I was listening to people who were living in the United States of America in the year 2016. When you hear what they were talking about, the poisoning of children because of a terrible, terrible water system, schools that are totally inadequate, healthcare system terribly inadequate, massive poverty in that city, you would think you're living in a fourth world country. You really wouldn't. But it's not just Flint. All over this country, we have water systems in trouble. Wastewater plants, roads, bridges, rail system, airports, levees, and dams. We can create 13 million decent paying jobs rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. Think about an America which has the best rail system in the world. Think about an America which has great public transportation, which has state-of-the-art water systems and wastewater plants, and which creates millions of jobs doing that. And when we look at our educational system, we should be hiring teachers, not firing teachers.
In some states. No, we've been lucky here.
It is important again to think out of the box, think outside of the status quo. Every psychologist who studies the issue understands that the most important years for intellectual and emotional development are 0 through 4. That's a fact. And yet all over this country,
yep, it's true.
Working parents are finding it very hard to get quality, affordable child care. You have child care workers who make wages lower than McDonald's wages, while they do some of the most important work in our society. We can create hundreds of thousands of jobs, good jobs, rebuilding our dysfunctional child care system. Now, Jane and I, met Jane and I have been married 27 years. We have
4. Only 27.
We have 4 great kids and 7 beautiful grandchildren, and we believe in family values. But our family values are a little teeny bit different than Republican family values. Now, not everybody here understands what Republican family values are, what they mean. And what they mean when they talk about family values is that no woman in this room, in this state, in this country should have the right to control her own body. I disagree. What they mean is that the federal government should defund Planned Parenthood. I believe we should expand funding. is that our gay brothers and sisters should not have the right to be married. I disagree. And when I talk about family values, what I talk about is the international embarrassment of the United States being one of the few countries in the world, not just major, but even poor countries, that does not guarantee paid family and medical leave.
No, you don't have to clap if you don't want to.
Now you tell me whether in America in the year 2016, a working class woman who has a baby today should be forced to separate herself from her baby and go back to work because she needs to bring income into her family. That is not a family value. What we need to do is pass legislation in Congress right now which guarantees 3 months of paid family and medical. Straightforward promise to you this evening, and that is, with Citizens United undermining American democracy, no justice to the Supreme Court that I will nominate will get that position unless he or she makes it crystal clear that they will vote to overturn Citizens United. When we talk about the economy today, everybody here understands that we live in a competitive global economy. We need the best educated workforce in the world. It is incomprehensible to me, and again, I ask you to think outside of the box, incomprehensible that hundreds of thousands of bright young people, qualified young people, who want to go to college are unable to do so because their families lack the money. That's pretty crazy stuff. And that is why I believe that in the year 2016, when we talk about public education, it's not good enough to talk about first grade through 12th grade. We have got to make public colleges and universities tuition free.
Won't they expand? Yeah, they'll get people who couldn't afford to go able to go.
Idea? I don't think so. Germany does it, Scandinavia does it, countries all over the world do it. They are investing
all over Europe,
in young people, investing in the future. Now, I am criticized for saying, well, you know, I think this is an important step forward. I think we have to substantially reduce the burden of student debt. And then people say, well, that's, you know, you want to make the colleges, the universities tuition free, you want to lower student debt. It's an expensive proposition. It is, about $70 billion a year. How am I going to pay for it? We're going to pay for it by putting a tax on Wall Street speculation.
Good.
This is what a rigged economy is about. When Wall Street's recklessness and greed and illegal behavior brought this country into the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, Wall Street went begging to Congress and they said, bail us out, bail us out. Well, if Congress could bail out the crooks on Wall Street, then you know what? It's time for Wall Street now to help the middle class of this country. very few people recognize the incredible power that they have over our country. When I talk about a corrupt campaign finance system and a rigged economy and a broken criminal justice system, it all comes together in one brief story. Some of you may have read about a month ago that Goldman Sachs, one of the large financial institutions on Wall Street, agreed to a settlement with the U.S. government for $5 billion. $5 billion. Now, why did they reach that agreement? They reached that agreement because, of course, they were selling fraudulent and worthless packages of subprime mortgage loans. All right? So they reached the $5 billion settlement, point one. Point number two. Wall Street firms like Goldman Sachs make huge contributions to candidates. So they put millions and millions of dollars into the political process.
Don't worry about what time it is.
The whole to them.
We'll stay out.
Point number three, the revolving door. You know what a revolving door is? People go from Wall Street to government back to Wall Street. Last 25 years, Goldman Sachs itself has had 2 secretaries of the Treasury, as well as many other high-ranking government officials, work on government, go back to Wall Street. Point number 4, maybe the most painful of all to the American people. Some kid in Minnesota today, or Vermont, gets picked up for having marijuana, possessing marijuana. That kid gets a criminal record that stays with him for his entire life. But if you are an executive on Wall Street whose fraudulent behavior destroyed the lives of millions of people, you know what happens to you? You go wrong. You get a salary increase.
He's angry.
And if you are the head of Goldman Sachs, you come to Congress as a billionaire and you say to Congress, cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and give huge tax breaks to the wealthy. Together, we are going to bring justice back to a broken criminal justice system. And that means, you know, justice under the law is a profound statement, something deeply embedded in who we are as Americans. And what it means is if you're poor and you break the law, you're going to pay the price. If you're rich and you break the law, you are going to pay the price. That does not happen in America today. Together, we are going to bring justice back to the criminal justice system. I am a member of the Senate Committee on the Environment and the Senate Committee on Energy. I've talked to scientists all over this world. The debate is over. Climate change is real.
Yeah, he just keeps going to the different topics, right?
Human activity is already doing devastating harm in America and all over this world. We have a moral responsibility to future generations to stand up to the fossil fuel industry, to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy.
Yeah, they talk about it. You have to pass it through Congress, and Congress is
Now, I have
Republican.
been criticized
Tough luck.
for saying that the United States should join every other major country on earth, UK, France, Germany, Holland, Scandinavia, Canada, every major country on earth, in guaranteeing health care to all people as a right. Pointed out, the Affordable Care Act has done a lot of good things, but we have got to go further. Today in America, 29 million people, zero health insurance. Many of you are underinsured with high deductibles and copayments, and we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. In fact, we're getting ripped off right and left by the pharmaceutical industry. 1 out of 5 Americans cannot afford to fill the prescriptions their doctors write, which is pretty crazy. Meanwhile, on top of all of that, we end up paying far, far more per capita for health care than any other country on earth, which leads me to the conclusion that the way forward is a Medicare for all single-payer program.
Do you know what that means? Oh, do you know what it means? Oh, you're clapping, that's why I was curious. Oh, you're just clapping to clap?
People can disagree with me all they want, but it is my view that health care is a right of all people, not a privilege.
Get out the way, dude.
Now, we can do great things in America when we do not allow people like Donald Trump and some of his friends to divide us up. To divide us up and make attacks against Latinos, vicious attacks, or against Muslims, or against African Americans, or whatever. When we stand together, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. Now, I look forward very much, boy, it would make me so happy, to have the opportunity to run against Donald Trump. Well, first start, a lot of the national polls and state polls show us beating him pretty badly, and that's a good start. But the reason that I'd like to run against Trump is that we will defeat him because the American people do not agree with him that we should give hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to billionaire families like his. The American people do not believe or agree with Trump when he thinks we should not raise a $7.25 minimum wage. The American people do not agree with Donald Trump when he says in a Republican debate, if you can believe it, that wages in America are too high.
That's what Trump says.
I guess if you're a billionaire, maybe you think that wages in America are too high. I don't know. My perception is that's not the case. Now, also, we know that Donald Trump is the greatest of everything, right?
No.
And among his many other attributes is he is a great, great scientist. And he has concluded that climate change is a hoax. And that it is a hoax created by the Chinese. Now, I was shocked to hear that because I thought from Trump's perspective that it would have been a hoax created by Mexicans or the Muslims, but the Chinese kind of took me back a bit. All right, we will together defeat Donald Trump because the American... do not want a president who insults Mexicans, Muslims, women, African Americans, veterans, and basically anyone who does not look and sound like Donald Trump. We will win because togetherness, bringing people together, trumps divisiveness.
What's that? Oh, that guy moved in my way. Now I can't see.
Defeat Trump because community trumps
I had a good view until he
selfishness.
stepped right there. He goes like just a step that way. That's all he has to do. Then I have my view back. You've got a good view though.
Significantly.
I've got his leg now.
Deepest
That's all I
point
got.
I can't
make.
zoom in.
We will
I can't
defeat
zoom
Trump
in.
because love trumps hatred.
And yeah, keep moving, keep moving. Oh, I got him back. I got him back. I got him back.
What the political revolution is about is bringing millions of people, many of whom have given up on the political process, working people who say, I'm not getting involved, it's all crap, I don't trust anybody, and young people who have never been involved in the political process. It's bringing people together by the millions to stand up and say something very simple, and that is that the government of this country belongs to all of us, not just a few. Now, what politics is about is not just wearing a pin or coming to a rally. It is more than that. It is getting deeply involved in the political process. Minnesota can play a profound and important role
Yeah.
moving this country
You can come to
forward
caucus with me Tuesday
toward a
night.
political revolution on Tuesday.
It's at Century High School.
In Minnesota, we will win if the voter turnout is high. I have no doubt about that. We will not win if the voter turnout is low. Your job, and I ask you to do this, is to work as hard as you can to bring out as many people as you can on Tuesday. And if we do that, Minnesota will play a significant part in shaping American history. Thank you all very much.
He's done. Well, there you go. That was your first rally. What do you think? What do you think?